Hey, chefs at home, you guys don't understand the level that I have for you today. Get the ingredients that I've got for you will make you a world-renowned superstar presenter. Utla becha ka di qualifications. Bachelology ya PhD la man lo. Nah, in studio today we have Lemi Loco. Mr. Send Your Girl Imani, Mr. Super Picks, Mr. Everything Nice. I am so excited for this episode. Please get your pizzas ready because this one's going to be too hot. Lemi.
Yo, bro.
How are you?
Ncenga was a great man. But chulo makhoa mfiti. Rancenga fela mfiti. Rancenga mfiti.
Did you find it okay? Did you struggle coming to studio today?
No. These are my neck of the woods, man. Yeah. So I grew up going to school around Randburg.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with the area. So yeah. It was easy getting here.
So unalibu cheesynyana.
Nix mfiti. Nix. Why foster life? Dog. Yeah, I grew up in the hood, go Soweto.
Sure.
My parents did what they could, send me to some decent schools.
Yeah.
But for still a little more life
Sure,
fit. So I went to school around this side. And that's how I know.
I want us to actually get into that.
Yeah.
I want us to speak to your story and your journey and how you end up where you are now, right? So Ungana Soweto, you're traveling to Randburg, I'm sure it's crazy early times. But how is that experience? Do you feel like, okay, I'm a school kid, or do you feel like Ungana Soweto amongst Banaba de Sabab?
Yo, that's actually an interesting question. I was actually born in Northwest.
Okay.
Came this side and I pretty much spent my whole childhood go Soweto.
Okay.
My parents tried the best that they could, but for the most part, I was raised by a single father. My parents separated when I was quite young. I think maybe last year of primary or first year of high school, somewhere there. So yeah, man, they tried their best. Went to primary school, go observe Trigo Makoing. Went to Bedford View, then went to SSB in Randburg. But for me, it was just when you navigate life at that age, man. It's just like I'm just going to school. You're just taking life one day at a time. You don't overthink anything. Yeah. So it was pretty chilled. Other than any personal struggles that anybody could have faced at home growing up. But other than that, it was pretty chill childhood, man. Yeah.
And we're definitely gonna dissect a lot of that dynamic, like growing up with a single father and what that meant.
Yeah.
But obviously, we want the chefs to loosen up before we start sharpening our knives. So we always start the icebreaker.
Sure.
2 questions for you.
Sure.
Today we talk about Hennessy.
Yeah.
The theme then is anything is possible. What is the worst memory you have after drinking this guy here?
Oh, after drinking Hennessy?
Yeah.
No, I won't lie, man. It wasn't Hennessy because I started drinking Hennessy very at an older age.
Okay.
You can't just wake up and Hennessy. You know what I mean? So it was definitely in my latter years. But my worst memory is give vodka, feed.
Yes, sir.
Give vodka. And the worst thing about that day, I was wearing fake shoes, so I got roasted again for wearing fake shoes. Fake Yeezys, the first Yeezy drop. I'll never forget that story.
Sure.
We're at Groove. I was getting a little too lit,
Yeah.
And I was slurring my words and whatever. Then some cheese boy, that's why I hate cheese boys till today.
Yeah.
Some cheese boys like, nah, dog, your shoes, they're not the one.
They're not the one.
I say, nah, it's the one. They're like, no, bro. He whoops out a picture and everything. Hey, dog. And I'm at Groove, get like a taxi. It's about midnight. I must wait till 4 o'clock. I must enjoy till about my 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
And then, so yeah, that's why now I'm not a big fan of shoes. But when I do buy shoes, I have to go directly to the store.
Yeah.
So if I want a Nike shoe, I go to Nike. I don't go to King Sportsini, what. I want DM for order. No. But 2 pairs of Yeezys for 1.5. No. Yeah. So that's how that's my worst memory of just alcohol in general. Hennessy, I am sharp. That's why it's my poison now.
Yeah. Okay,
no stress.
Second question for you, nah?
Yeah.
Say you're a gambler. Nah?
Yeah.
You gamble like avid every day. It's your thing.
Okay.
But you're not a very lucky gambler.
Okay.
One of these days, something so you take this 10 rand and then you win 100 million.
Okay.
Ka 10 rand
Yeah.
How much are you giving your friend?
10 rand. Eh, go get 10 rand, don't get
Ale.
10 rand.
Okay, okay. If this impinge was your girl, I gotta send your girl a message.
Ay, 5 rand. Like,
Ay, ay,
oh, Jad, na go ya go
ay.
pay. Like, but like with the girl, it's
Ah.
different. Okay, maybe for my boy, I might give them a bit more than $10.
Yeah.
If I win 100 million, maybe 100,000, even a million, I think I'll do it. Depending on which boy it is.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's the important thing.
Yeah.
If it's like just my branch, I just know you from
Yeah.
like situations or places.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Probably maybe 10, 100,000. But if it's like my boy, I'd
Yeah.
probably give you like
Yeah.
a mil or two, man.
Okay.
My girl, I'll crazy. Because what Jan na go ya go
Sure,
pay, like
sure,
you're,
sure,
I'm
sure.
gonna be spoiling you. You're probably gonna
100%,
get like an
100%.
allowance, nyana.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and then we're gonna be traveling a bit.
yeah,
So yeah, my wife knows, dog. If I ever win the lotto, I always tell her. If I ever win the lotto, I'd never tell her.
Eh,
I'd,
mara the sun it tlo bate.
yeah, no,
O
sure.
bona ka easy hele
Yeah, sure.
kileng ka yone.
Yeah. Ota bona hore no man, this guy na tell 100 rand petrol. Today I tell her 3 clip.
Hey,
Or tell her full tank.
10 rand.
You know, you know. So yeah, the signs will definitely be there. But I think it depends on what kind of friend it is.
Yeah.
I think honestly, yeah.
I think that is a question that we're going to kind of, in a metaphorical sense, unpack throughout the interview.
Yeah.
Because part of fame is people feeling entitled to you, entitled to your time, entitled to your
Facts.
success. So
Yeah.
when we get later on in the interview, we're going to speak to that.
Okay.
But I saw you today, I was cooking in the kitchen the whole morning.
Yeah.
I was shapetse paella. It was my first time making it, so I hope I was true to how it's supposed to taste.
Yeah.
Um,
Maroska wara kinal medical aid. So if anything goes south, yeah, no, we're good.
So
Hey,
what's gonna
you're on your
happen
own.
here?
You're
What's
on your
gonna
own.
happen here? Let's have them bring it through. And then I don't know how you are about chili.
Thank you.
We can
Thank
get some chili as well going.
Thank you.
Ooh, hey, but plate the nicest one.
Hey, when?
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Why
We
didn't you
should
guys call me here
inspire.
earlier? I think I'm going to come every episode now.
I think so too.
Nah,
Wait.
yeah, no, easy.
Yeah. One way. So me, I want to speak to this dynamic. Yeah, a single father.
Yeah.
Right. Like a lot of what many black people will know is growing up with a single mother.
Yeah.
Because of a bunch of things, mainly apartheid, the migrant labor system, and all of that. But in general, for a father to choose to be present, I think is amazing.
Yeah.
What would you say the biggest things your father taught you are that you
Yeah.
want to emulate now? If you
I think the biggest thing I learned from my dad is do things that make you happy, not to make other people happy, you know? It's actually quite a crazy journey with my dad because I watched him transition to the hero that I saw him become. Like me and my dad were best friends. We're very close, but he wasn't always my role model, you know? So I watched him go through things like struggling with alcohol and those kind of things, and to ultimately becoming like the guy that I want to be today, you know? So it is very different. And with my group of friends growing up, a lot of them grew up with mothers only. So my dad wasn't a dad to just me, but to my boys as well. You know, so it was an interesting journey. It was one that I think I very much needed because that's how I am now with my own kids. I prioritize my kids over anything else. That's why I think I outgrow a lot of things because I saw it in my father, you know. So going into high school after my parents separating to be quite honest, I've always been close to my father because he was the person that took me first day of crèche nearly and first day of primary nearly and first day of high school, first day of varsity. It was always him. So he'd always displayed those qualities, even though he had his own struggles in his journey of becoming my role model. So the biggest lesson is the true qualities of being a father and a leader is what I can say I learned from my dad. So because I saw him with other people as well, my cousins and whatever. And then Ele Malume, Wadi cousin, he was the only Malume that anybody had in the family. So, and my friends, that was the only father figure that they identified with. So it was an interesting journey, a tough one to be quite honest, but one that I needed nonetheless. Yeah.
How, if you could recall, what are some of the more kind of jarring moments of seeing your father that place. Because I know for me personally,
Mm.
I also look up to my dad in many many ways. Like he's a
Yeah.
big role model of mine, and I never see him vulnerable. And when I do, it's a very jarring kind of
Yeah.
experience. So, what are the times where you saw your dad and you just felt sad for him, whether
Yo.
it be that
Hey man, there's quite
alcohol
a few,
or
man.
mm,
There's quite a few. Look, it's not a secret. I've always expressed in interviews and stuff that I wasn't the richest kid growing up. My dad never worked for as long as I can remember. He did. He hustled wherever he hustled to put me through school and whatever. But there was one specific time that I still struggle to talk about now. That I came back. I remember I was in high school. I came back and he sat me down and he told me like, "Enfit, we've got nothing to eat, dog." You know. So in my mind, in hindsight now, as an adult, it takes a lot for a man to sit their child down and say, "Dog, I've tried, and I cannot plan." You know, although living in the household, I knew we were always broke. You know from the meals you eat, you know from how hard it is to get stationery and uniform and those kind of things. But that day kind of scarred me for life because I hated seeing my dad in that position. I hated what life had done to him at that moment where he tried everything he could and he it got to a point where he had to let me know like, dog, roba la ka tlala today, you know. And I remember that day I said to him, don't worry, uh, God will make a plan. Those were my exact words. And I walked out and I went to a friend's place just to kind of like blow off some steam and just forget about the situation right now. When I came back, one of our neighbors, a close friend to my dad, had just bought groceries and decided to share with my dad, like, yo, this is what I got, Mfetu. Let's share, you know, because I know your situation or whatever. And as that day. So that experience in itself taught me so many lessons, right? One is an open communication with your kids. Is it's important to kind of like let them in into the adult's world to a certain extent so that they know that life is not I want and I get. Life is not what you expect and at a snap of a finger is going to happen. And secondly was, you know, you always have to trust the process and you always have to trust God. Because I don't know that day. It was just my faith that said, imagine as a teenager, my faith that just, I think I was in grade 10. So 16 years old, here I am telling my dad, something will come
yeah,
up.
yeah,
And it's a tough thing to say to your parent because they normally say that to
to
you,
you, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So it taught me quite some valuable lessons. And I think lastly it was, you know, I don't ever want to be in that position because I remember he told me, you know, I think from his experience, he had said to me, whatever you do, don't ever be a man that can't provide, you know. So there were so many things that I learned from just that one day, just from that little brief experience of almost going to bed hungry. And that I carry those till today. You know, I implement them in my life right now as a parent, as a husband, and just as a general hustler going out there and trying to make bread to put food on the table for my family.
Oh, you know the depth of people. Like I post the Q&A, tell me about them, Jolo, but you
Yeah,
will never understand like the depth of
yeah,
experience that they've kind of or experiences that they've
yeah.
had, right? I think that's a very interesting kind of recollection
Mm,
of the experiences that you went through. But I want to touch a bit more on the separation itself, right?
mm,
Because divorce is like a big thing nowadays.
yeah,
Um, I assume that it was similar pattern back then, but
yeah,
one of the big things that comes out of divorce is as a child, you often end up having to choose which parents to favor,
yeah,
or you
yeah,
end
yeah,
up building resentment.
yeah.
And on a day where Helena Dijo and it's you and your dad,
Mm.
aren't you thinking, "Mama, guy?"
No, facts, facts, facts. And I'm glad I'm at a point where, like me and my mom are good, man. We were even after the separation, we were good. Uh, not perfectly good, but I mean, I grew up to understand why she made the choices that she made. She had her own struggles. We kind of forget that our parents are people too. I don't know why we think the experiences that we experience navigating through becoming adults that they don't experience the same. They experience exactly the same. You know, they had childhood traumas, they had shortfalls and disappointments and all of that. Is this the hot shandies?
Hey.
Let's rock it. Yeah, let's rock it. So yeah, man, you you always have to remember that your parents are people too, you
mm.
know, and they didn't know what they were doing. So yes, of course, when things like that happened, there was a bit of resentment, thinking, you know what, but how this honey and Agantuko guy, you know, she's probably living la vida loca thing, and then rona re bolawa ke tlala, of course you learn, you start feeling that way, but you learn to kind of understand. Uh, in your healing process, you learn to understand that they were just navigating life as well. You know, they made bad decisions, they made good decisions, they were still trying to figure things out. Yeah.
Mm, mm. So now that you guys are in a good place,
Mm.
do you think that like you are trying to teach your children hore lwa no motho, or
Facts, facts. I'm trying to teach my wife also. We
mm,
teach each other, we learn from each other all the
mm-hmm,
time, because the one thing experiences like that teach you, if you've got a teachable spirit, is that you don't want to make the same mistakes that your parents made, right? But it's also somewhat important to make those mistakes as long as you learn from them
mm,
and
mm,
you cultivate into your kids what kind of marriage they should be witnessing and household they should be a part of. Because you never learn from something you don't experience. I
mm,
find it very difficult to kind of believe that you could learn from something you've never experienced
mm,
when
mm,
it comes to life and relationships and all those things. Though you can learn from other people's experiences as well. But it is important because those life lessons kind of teach me how to be a parent, teach me how to be a friend, teach me how to be a husband, you know. So definitely those experiences are important, man.
mm. Okay, so we now go through high school.
Yeah,
Give me trick.
yeah.
Okay, ke nako ya varsity. Re
Ish.
ya ka.
Ish.
Ka
That was
lapa.
tough, bro. That was tough. Varsity was the toughest time because remember, my dad doesn't work,
Mm,
you know. I think the saving grace was that he was smart enough that when he did work, he invested quite a bit of his money.
mm, mm, mm,
So every now and then there'd be like a young year where it's just Christmas that
mm,
year,
mm,
you
mm,
know, when
mm.
he's got to pay out or whatever. Fortunately, when he came to matric and varsity, though it was during that phase where he had just got like a young
Mm,
payout,
mm,
or
mm,
whatever. So going to varsity, I tried my utmost best to get into UJ, and I didn't. Not because of my marks were great,
mm,
you know,
mm,
but it was a space thing. It was like I think a shitty admin thing, you
mm,
know. So there was just a lot going on that didn't work out for me to go into UJ. So I ended up going to CTI
okay.
because I was adamant on doing business admin. Wherever I was going to end up, I was going to do business management. I mean,
Mm,
so I ended up at CTI. I think worst mistake me and my dad ever did.
yeah.
Because now I'm like knee deep in the cheese boily, the cheese
Yes,
girly.
I.
I'm this guy who takes school to
Yeah.
come to school. Like it was a very weird experience for me
Mm,
because I had imposter syndrome. It's like I don't belong here. I
yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
belong here. Like these kids are coming with cars,
Yeah.
school fees is steep. Again, my dad doesn't work. It's hard to get like textbooks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I had mad imposter syndrome, but fortunately, I had a friend who lived not too far from campus, and he was very well off. So his parents were from, I'll tell you now, I think Angola. I think he was
Okay.
from Angola.
Okay.
Very close friend,
Mm,
very genuine guy.
mm,
So he had then said to me, "No, you can come stay with me," because he lived with his two younger sisters.
okay.
He said, "You can come live with us. You can take the pool house, and we'll just live in the main house because we can just walk to school."
Yeah.
So that's how I navigated through my first year at CTI. But like any other black story, had to drop out because the money ran dry
Mm.
and just had to hustle. You know, you just had to figure out life from there. And I gotta go here. I still believed that I was going to be a rapper or a beat maker or
I
something.
mo
So the
rapper.
dream was still killer one. It was still
Hey,
all
no
over.
kid.
Hey, bruh, you go through these things and you kind of appreciate it in hindsight because you then realize that wherever you end up now, it was
A culmination.
it was a combination of all those things. You
Mm.
know, because I did TV presenting, I did theater, I
Mm.
did music, I did dancing.
Mm. Hey.
Let's come on again, so guys. Let's come on and take homework. Kirang. I was a cramp.
Hey.
You understand?
Hey.
I'll give you a little bit of need drop on your name.
Hey, it's a more line.
You know, so yeah, so all those things, man, they kind of like evolved to what I am today. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that journey at CTI in my first year, I won't lie, it was very unpleasant. It felt long. I won't lie, it really felt long. Yeah.
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 So, okay, we do CTI for a year.
Yeah.
And it ends up not working out. Like, bless our friend from Angola though for being there for us and whatever.
Yeah.
But what does the journey look like? Because you do say you hustle, but what does that mean for you? Does that mean
Damn. This thing's got a
yeah,
kick,
bah,
man.
bah, yeah, bah, really?
Okay.
What does that journey look like, and what does that mean?
Hey man, I try to push that music thing. Yeah? I try to push that music thing, though. You know, I'd always get encouragement from people around me, like, "Yo, dude, you're really good at this music production thing," and you know, but it was still a pipe dream nonetheless. So eventually, life comes to a point where, like, I need to go hustle a job now. You know, that's where I found my first job, working at a company called UTI. It was a courier company. So Nekilego call center. It's called DSV now, I think. So I used to work there in the call center. And that's kind of like how my working life started. So I worked there for about a year. Got there as a temp through an agency. And at some point, I nearly got fired because of fraud. Believe it or not. Yeah, I defrauded the system.
So you were guilty.
No, I definitely was.
Oh.
I definitely was. But I think the bosses and the managers, they were more impressed than they were because they were like, how did you figure this out? You know, because there was something in the system that I'd figured out and I was just kind of like rocking. So on paper, it's called defrauding the company. But in actual sense, I just found a loophole and I used that loophole to my advantage. And I mean, I was very unhappy, you know, from the first time I started working that job. I was very unhappy, but I was glad that I could put food on the table for me and my dad. Things started looking up a bit, but I was very disgruntled. Resigned about 3 times and my resignation was rejected 2 times. I didn't know they could do that, you know, but the 3rd time I was like, you know what, I'm just heartful. I quit. And that's when I got an opportunity when I was looking for another job. To cut the long story short, I got offered a management position while I was going for interviews because they called the bosses. So the boss of the recruitment agency happened to be there when I was doing my interview. I was the last person.
Okay.
So they sat in on the interview. After the interview, they told the recruiters, "Cut, this is our guy. I'm calling the CEO of the company." I don't know if I can mention the company. Yeah. So, it was Hater at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were like, "This is our guy." The next day, I had a follow-up interview with the CEOs, and they offered me like a management position for like a store and like accommodation and stuff. And I was supposed to move to Pretoria, but at the same time, I got offered a learnership at Discovery for something that I really wanted to do, which was alongside business management, which was wealth management. But there was a learnership, so it gets stipend. And I'm gonna be leaving a 9 to 5 to a stipend. So I had a chat with my dad, and he asked me like, "So what do you feel like doing?" I'm like, my heart is with the learnership because I feel like after that I'll have a qualification, I'll have something to my name. But yes, it's gonna be a grind. You know what I mean? Because I was gonna go from a full-on salary to like a 2,500 stipend.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I did. I turned down the other job, did the learnership, and that's how I got a phrase accredited to be in wealth management. You know, like as it stands right now, I'm phase accredited. I could practice to be a financial advisor if I wanted to.
Yes.
So that was the journey. Because after that learnership, it was with Discovery. Then I got hired by Discovery,
Yeah,
and that's what I did for like the next 3 years or something. Yeah.
So, music is still in the blood.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
we're doing DJing at this point when we were with Discovery, or
That's when the DJing started. So you know, in your journey of trying to hustle and navigate through life and try to make ends meet, I started dabbling in putting events together, and I would attend a lot of events. I don't know if you guys know an event that was called Authentic Sundays. So there's an all hip hop event that used to happen at Zone 6 when Zone 6 just opened. And I started attending a lot of events. It started off Go Maponya when there was still a premium. And when I would hear hip hop DJs, I was a big fan of hip hop. Remember Nikilim rapper, producer, you know? So I'd hear a lot of hip hop DJs and I'd be like, these guys are
Swag.
ass, bro. You know,
Swag.
I could probably play better than them if I was a DJ. So my friends got really irritated by that narrative. Like, okay, then you do it. Let's see. You know, yeah. And then that's when I started dabbling in DJing, and ended up with a residency at Authentic Sundays because they were like, "Yo, dude, you're a natural," you know, and that's how the DJing journey started. But with that DJing journey, it then created a lot of conflict with me trying to become a financial advisor full time and me still following some sort of passion, which at the time was DJ, you know. And then 3 years in, I was like, you know, actually, because I kept getting promotions at work, like departments would be like, this guy is really good at what he does, you know. So, and he doesn't belong. I started off at the call center again. They're like, he doesn't belong here. They took me to another department, then got headhunted by another department. So things were looking up, got my own apartment and was about to get a car. Then I decided, you know what? Nah, I'm quitting all of this. I resigned there. I'm like, give it about DJ full time. Yeah, quit my job at Discovery to go be a DJ. Had to move back home at this point because I can't pay rent now, you know. And then had to forfeit the car finance because fortunately I hadn't taken the car. I'd just been approved. So I was smart enough to say, you know what, I won't be able to afford the car, so no, I'm not gonna take it anymore. Moved back home. My dad was very welcoming. He's like, hey, you still have a home, but I didn't kick you out, you know, so you can come back. Going back to being backroom boys. But I mean, there was some solace and peace to it because I'm doing what I love now. So yeah, because I had so much, you know, when you're DJing, it's weekends. I had so much time on my hands. That's how I started content creation because during the week I was bored doing nothing. And there was an app called Vine. And Vine was booming at the time, you know, so I started dabbling in. I'd make Vines because SA wasn't big on Vine. I'd make Vines and then post them on Twitter. And that's how I would get like viral videos. But at the time, you go viral for one day and that's it, you know. So yeah, that's how I started with content creation. This was what, 2016?
Yeah. I think that journey is a journey I really want us to unpack. But already there's a lot that can be taken from pre-content creation because we are, you didn't finish school, but you are taking positions for like that people who went to school for years dream of. So there's definitely hope in trusting the process. And which is part of a lot of social media and like content creation is about trusting the process and hoping things come into fruition. So when we get back from our little break, we're gonna speak about that. What content creation has meant for you, the types of opportunities you recommended. But for now, we're saying a break, and then we'll be back.
Yeah, because I want to chicken in, take shebile, man. Ke batla ena, I know I can't. Ke tshwara di chicken mo camereng. But yeah, let's showcase, bro.
Sure. And we are back. Nele lunch breaking, and I hope legele and you're ready to continue cooking now. So let's start content creation. You are now a DJ at the weekend. During the week, you're creating content. At which point does that become something that you're like, okay, I want to do this more. I'm enjoying this. Let me get into it deeper. And also then, when does that become lucrative?
It actually died down as soon as I started, because content creation has never been. It wasn't always a big thing in SA.
100%.
It was very taboo. It was very new, and I did it just to pass time because I really enjoyed it. So going into DJing, I ended up sort of outgrowing the DJ spaces because it started becoming a little bit too much for me. The lifestyle. I'm a very reserved person. I'm an introvert for the most part. So having to be out every single weekend, having to sort of like be in the middle of all those energies, Friday to Sunday, different people that you interact with, some you don't necessarily get along with, it started taking its toll, you know. So it started becoming more, I'd go play and go home. I was that kind of DJ. I'd get there 30 minutes before my set or an hour just to hear the previous DJ play. 30 minutes after my set, I'm out, back home, watching series or whatever. So it started becoming more of a job than a passion. I mean, fast forward to like Boma 2018, started going back to my entrepreneurial ways, opened up my own pub slash restaurant.
Okay.
Got effed over by
Yes.
the landlord. You know, those journeys are always, like I say, they're important, but they scar you to a certain extent. And then 2018, that's when my dad passes away. So everything just kind of takes a bit of a dark turn for a certain part, but opens up another part of life to a certain extent. So my dad then passes away literally as I start this restaurant thing. The restaurant didn't even last a year because the one Saturday morning, the landlord is outside my house with all my stuff, our kitchen stuff, our cutlery, our deco, and all of that. I'm like, what's going on? No, we're renovating the place. I'm like, but you don't just wake up one day, you know? So, Kanti, it was a coup d'etat kind of situation. He was opening his own spot because he saw how good we were doing.
Yes, sir.
And we didn't have a lease, we didn't have anything. It was a gentleman's agreement. That went downhill. But then because I was still DJing very frequently, I hit up a contact of mine, to be specific, DJ Naves. And I was like, yo, bro, I'm not getting bookings at, because he was the owner of a club called Icon, where Konka is now. He was the owner of that club with Spey, DJ Spectacular. And I hit him up. I'm like, I'm not getting bookings anymore. I just wanted to find out if we're good, what's going on. Then he was like, actually, we just let go of the entertainment manager, you know? That's why you probably haven't had bookings. I was like, yo, I'm here, you know?
Yeah.
And you know that I've studied business and all of that. I've got
yeah.
experience in that.
Okay.
He's like, okay, come through. Let's have a brief interview with the team. Went for the interview. Long story short, I got the job. I was the new entertainment manager for Icon. Did that for about a year. Then Icon closed. They sold Icon to Moja.
Okay.
To make Konka. But I had already resigned at the time. I didn't even know that they were selling the club. I had already resigned for my own reasons because I kind of felt stuck in what I wanted to do, because I just didn't want to be an entertainment manager, just book DJs and stuff. I wanted to really do some really dope shit, you know? And because of whatever challenges with sponsors and, you know, the admin side of the business, those things weren't very possible. But then after having left, only to find out that they had sold the club, went to go manage another place called Roadhouse.
Yes.
Yeah. If it's like a Roadhouse, so same story. I've got these big dreams and I want to do like these amazing events and whatever. But, you know, we're not really seeing eye to eye with that. Then COVID hits.
Yes, sir.
And when that hits, it really put me in the back foot, because now I've just lost my dad a couple of years ago. Relationships aren't doing so great. I'm damn near broke. You know, I'm just living like paycheck to paycheck. You don't even have a car. You don't have clothes. Like nothing. You're just surviving, bro. You know, then COVID hits. And literally, I remember when that hit, I was at home and I was literally job hunting now. I'm like, you know, actually screw this entertainment thing. Like, akona zaga yi, you know, so I'm going to job hunt. And I was just on my phone. You know, we were all bored on our phones. But I remember tweeting at some point. I'm like, when COVID hit, because then that's when we all like rushed to TikTok. We consumed TikTok a lot.
100%.
And we'd be up for hours. And it kind of rekindled that thing. Like, you know, man, I used to love creating content, you know. And I remember tweeting saying, promising to myself, it was the brain fart, really. I'm like, this year I want to explore content creation again. But the one thing I want to do is collaborate a lot more with other creators. I've always been a believer of collaborations.
100%.
I tweeted that. Kante was just me speaking it out into the universe. I was at home one day, job hunting, but 100 megabytes at a
Yeah,
time. You know what I mean? So I hit up my mom, dog. I'm like, yo, dude, please do me a favor. That's when both Vuma and stuff fiber started going into the hood. Please do me a favor. Please hook me up at $400. I wanna get fiber at home so I can job hunt because I'm living 100 megabytes at a time. And my mom was like, cool. So while I was waiting for that to happen, I was actually bored. But 2 days before that, funny story, I was bored again, same situation, COVID. I'm sitting outside and I just put up a story. I'm like, you know what? Actually, my love life is going to shit. But I actually give good relationship advice, you know?
Okay.
So I put up a story. Nobody engages with that. I'm like, whatever. Fast forward to when I'm asking my mom for cash. While I was waiting for that, I'm bored again. There's nothing to do. You've seen everybody's posts and stories. I can't go on TikTok because I've only got 100 megabytes.
Yeah.
You know, so I go into Instagram again and then I put up a story. Yo, guys, hit me up with your relationship advice. Nobody engages. But I'm like, you know what? Actually, screw this. I send my own questions. I send questions to myself, you know? And that's when everything kind of like blossoms. You know, I don't tell the story very frequently, but the first Q&A you guys saw that made me trend, that was my own questions. Those were questions to myself.
Wow. A real one to a real one.
You know what I mean? So I put up that Q&A. I'm like, nobody's engaging. I send questions to myself. And as I'm posting responses, a few of my close friends start sending their questions. So maybe out of 20 questions, I probably got like maybe 4 real questions from people. But 16 getting another, can you please call? Like, I don't understand. Yeah, I'm like, you know. So I put that together, but because I had like 1,000 followers on Instagram, I don't have an audience on Instagram. I compiled that. I put up like a montage that everybody sees now. That's how it started. I compiled it. I put that on Twitter. Give them my 7 o'clock. It's fine. I go take a bath. But I'm a backroom boy. I come back, my phone is buzzing. You know, so I'm thinking, shit, somebody leaked my news or something. You know, something is going down. This is not, I've never experienced my phone like this, you know. So now I see when I go into Twitter, everybody's responding with, do you have money? Do you have money? Do you have... I'm like, that's the video I just posted. So now it becomes a thing. People are just quoting, do you have money? I'm like, I go into my DMs, some random girl is like, I didn't know this girl. We didn't follow each other. But my DMs have always been open because DJ, you know what I mean? She's like, yo, dude, Mihlali just reposted your video. I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? I go onto Instagram. I can album 1,002 followers. I come back, I'm like 7K followers. I'm like, hey, man, what's going on, guys? What's like, what's going on? But at that time, I'm thinking, fluke, you know, just one video or whatever. My phone is buzzing throughout the night, dude. So I'm like, yo, this is booming. It starts doing gang numbers, the views on the stories, because my profile was open, is now clocking 30K views on a story. I'm like, I don't even have 30K followers. You know what I mean?
I don't know 30K people.
I don't know 30K people. So that happens. I kind of like sleep it off. I tell my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, I'm like, yo. And she, you know how, no offense to any ladies in the room, but you know how ladies are, how next thing, Mr. Trending. Hey, man, Mr. Do you have money? You're a celebrity now. Hey, man. It's literally been 2 hours. Like, where's this coming from, you know? So the next day, I had got the money from my mom for the Wi-Fi. So, I'm walking. Like, I'm walking quite a distance going to, like, the nearest shop, right? I want to take out the money, put it in my account so I can go onto Web Africa and I want to subscribe for Wi-Fi. So, as I'm doing that walk, I'm talking to my girlfriend. I'm like, hey, this thing is booming. I'm thinking of doing another Q&A.
Yeah.
Funny enough, it's something that we laugh about now. She was like, no, don't do it. You know, sometimes you put out fire content, then you do it again the second time. Then people are like, hey, guys, it was funny the first time.
Relax
relax now, you know. She's like, nah, don't do it. As I'm walking down, I'm like, okay, no, I'm putting up another one.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going against what she's saying. Put up another Q&A. Pa! Questions are flooding in. Now I don't have to please call myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, real questions are coming in. But because the formula stayed the same, because the way, another funny thing is when I put together that clip of the questions, I did it deliberately. When I was shooting the responses, I deliberately repeated, "Do you have money?"
Yes,
Because that's what I wanted to
100%.
stick, right? So that was like my kind of like entrepreneur brain, creative brain coming into the background of
Le mo
things.
repa ke hook.
Yeah, okay, hook. You understand? So the way I arranged it, that's what I wanted to stick, and it landed. Then the second Q&A comes. Same thing. I was like, I kind of like repeated the same because now it's a thing. Everybody's like now posting on their WhatsApp stories and whatever. Now you're viral.
Yes,
when you
yes.
end up on WhatsApp stories. Second Q&A does even better than the first one. So I'm like, okay, we're onto something. So it starts becoming something I do daily now.
Okay.
I start doing Q&As daily. Jump from 7K to 10K, 15K followers, 20K followers, 50K followers. I'm like, okay, this is happening. You start getting emails from brands, I'm like, okay, I'm leaving this job hunting thing. I think this is what I'm gonna do now.
Jobs are hunting me.
Yeah, So I get my first gig with a brand. It wasn't a really big check, but it was in hindsight, it was huge for me.
100%.
I remember that first gig, I got like 12 grand for it for like one post or something. I was like, what? I'll give you 5 more if you want, But then, I'm like, yeah, first thing I'm doing, I'm buying my girlfriend a TV. Because we used to watch series on my laptop on a cooler box in here,
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me buy a TV for my hand,
Yeah.
mounted up in the back room there. And that's just kind of like how it grew.
Yes.
Yes. And then because I enjoyed it so much, the formula stayed the same because I don't rehearse those answers when I'm doing a Q&A. Whatever reaction you get from me, that's authentic.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the people loved. They're like, you know what? It's content, yes, but this oak is like he's always shouting at us.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
look.
Yeah, but also I'm also shocked. I'm like, guys, your problems are many. Little and stress because your problems are many.
Yeah.
So that's how it kind of grew. I never thought in a million years that I'd be doing content creation for a living because that's all I do now. Like I never got a job from job hunting. Shout out to my mom for giving me that 4 clipper for Wi-Fi because I didn't have to stress about the 100 megabytes and whatnot. But I never thought in a million years that little journey would end up in me becoming a content creator, TV presenter, getting my own radio show, and to where we are today.
Yeah. 100%. Like I want us to rewind a bit.
Yeah.
And touch on just the period of loss of your dad, and then we're gonna come and celebrate the content creation.
Yeah.
But Gabatla, on the rocks.
Yeah. No.
Hey,
Man,
I've never like opened a bottle of Hennessy.
Serious?
And I've never really had Hennessy.
So the best way to enjoy Hennessy, like, I want to really cool goodie. What do I do? Dashing Hennessy with Coke is like putting pineapple on pizza, bro. Oh, okay. No, just before later is mkumbuti. So yeah. So the best way to enjoy it, on the rocks or with water, man. Because no.
On the rocks, no ice.
So shout out, man.
When did you develop a taste for this one?
When I started DJing,
Oh.
so when they start asking you for riders and stuff, I won't lie. I asked for Hennessy as a rider because I just wanted to be a cool kid.
Yeah.
Like I'm drinking Hennessy in the club.
Yeah.
But then I started realizing, oh no, man, they didn't into rush up.
Yeah.
And which was, I've been 10 years now, maybe 8 on Henny now. This is my preferred drink. Not to say I don't drink anything else, like beers and ciders. I definitely do love me a good beer and a good cider. But in terms of hard liquor, this is my poison. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me grab this.
So,
don't feel judged, man. Oh, sorry.
Don't stress.
Yeah, man. I've been waiting for this moment my whole life, man.
Mom, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, 2018.
Yeah.
was it before 2018 when you lose your
It
dad?
was end of 2018, December 22nd, 2018, just before Christmas.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
what space does that put you in? Because a lot of black men don't
yeah.
feel like they have the right to suffer, even if the moment calls for it.
Yeah, man. Look, I lost my dad under very weird circumstances, if I have to say so. I've never said this out loud, but speaking about it now, so at the time before my dad left, like I had good months, like I'd get like corporate gigs, they'd pay like decent amount of money. When that happened, the girl I was dating at the time, I just got a check from a corporate gig, and my then girlfriend, the little brother, was getting married.
Okay.
Go, I think near Mpumalang. Yeah, we were going to Mpumalang. So we had decided to combine that with like a getaway. Nyana. So
Okay.
after
Okay.
the
The
wedding,
wedding.
we'd like stay a bit longer for a holiday. So that's what I was doing, you know. So I went away. My dad didn't fit too sharp. Oh, yeah, what me and dad were always cool. I'm a child. I'm going to Mpumalanga for about a week. I want to get sharp to speed. But something was happening in my life that needed family's intervention at the time. So that's when I had my daughter.
Okay.
I think I had my daughter 2 years before that.
Okay.
And we weren't really good with that family because I actually didn't know that she was expecting.
Oh, okay.
I literally found out through a DM, like, yo, by the way,
Hey.
I was like, so that kind of put us off on the wrong foot because it's actually the first time I'm telling the story in public. Put us off on the back foot because culturally Tsantabatli Sempa.
Yes.
And when that happened, like we were very civil. It was very very mature, a mature conversation. But my dad was like, no, but the way this was communicated to us, it's a bit sus. So we're gonna wait until the child is born.
Okay.
So when the child was born, my family was supposed to go there and balo bonangwana and then amukele no, this is our child. That never happened. So that put us in a very bad space. So fast forward to December 2018, I'm away in Mpumalanga. My dad, I think at some point, because now I couldn't officially go see my daughter, I had to always get money koning, udi moling, kilabona. It's very unofficial.
Yeah.
But because I'm very overprotective of my kids, I wanted to have a relationship. So because my family, being my aunts and stuff, didn't go and see the child when they were supposed to, that created bad blood. But one day I just woke up, I'm like, I'm not gonna live like this. I literally pulled up to a house, parents and all. I'm like, yo, this is me. I'm the child's father. If you guys wanna kick me out, or whatever it is, so be it. But I can't live like this anymore. You know.
Yeah.
So we sat down, we had a conversation. I'm like, okay, my aunts can't come, but my dad, I can get my dad here. The best adult I can bring to you is my father. Went back home, I told my dad, and he was like, sharp, we'll do it. So I go over to Mpumalanga, but my dad has this pressing things like, dog, we have to do this ASAP. I've spoken to the people. Tuesday, we are going. Give Aile on a Saturday. Tuesday, I drive back from MP and link up with my dad. We go to my daughter's family. They speak things out. They rekindle the relationship, open the communication. Everybody agrees. Banka Mokhela. Okay, cool. We appreciate that you brought your dad. My dad goes back home. I go back to Mpumalanga because I still have to spend the rest of the week. Yes. Saturday, I was supposed to come back on a Friday. Checkout was on Friday, but somehow I decided, no, man, let's do a backpackers for one more night. We do a backpackers one more night. The girl I was dating had a car, so I was driving. As we drive out, my phone starts blowing out. This is like 10 a.m. in the morning, 9 a.m. in the morning. My phone starts blowing up, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? My neighbor's calling me. Like, yo, where are you? I'm like, I'm in Mpumalanga. Can you hurry up and get home? For what? I'm 4 hours away. I'm literally leaving Mpumalanga now. But your dad is not grand. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, I won't lie to you. Immediately when I heard that, I knew what time it was. My dad was as fit as a horse, man. So I'm now scenarios are running in my head. somebody, my sister then calls, my sister being my aunt's daughter, but we were so close. I just call her my sister. My sister calls me, yo, dude, where are you? Ngiko Mpumalanga. How long is it going to take you to get here? 4 hours. What's up? Hey, fit. Maluma is not grand. What's going on? No, we think he's sick or whatever. You need to hurry up. I'm like, guys, call the ambulance. Whatever you got to barrier. We're just waiting for the ambulance. Now I'm shaking, dog, you know? As I get off the phone with my sister, I break down.
Oh.
Like I break down like unstoppable crying. I hop onto the passenger seat because I'm not fit to drive now. I will hop onto the passenger seat, but immediately I knew. I start praying, and you know, we actually pulled over to the side and we started praying because we were with some friends. We started praying, and you know, but in my mind I'm like,
you know,
I know what's going on, you know. So Rashapa Koloi, you can imagine the longest 4-hour ride of my life. My sister's calling maybe every 30 minutes. How far are you now? How far are you now? How far are you? Before I even get home, I get a call from my cousin, another cousin of mine. RMFH. Hey, I heard condolences.
Yes.
Hey. So that was like
tipping point.
Yeah, that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Because now I still had low-key a bit of hope that I'm not going to what I'm... So we get to Soweto, get to my house. Hey, dog, like houses just look different when there's death, dog. Like the big gate is open. It's no longer the small gate. The big gate is open. Yeah, there's cars that you don't normally see there. My sister and her wife were at the gate literally waiting for me. And when I got out the car, like I collapsed, literally. Like out of shock. And it's almost like everything just kind of kicked in. Yeah, it kind of hit me. So I get in, my dad is no longer there. So they're telling me, okay, they literally just fetched his body. I'm like, yo, it's real now. You know? So I broke down for like a good hour or something. I was inconsolable at the time. I couldn't believe it because I just spoke to this man on Tuesday. I was with him. I spoke to him maybe Wednesday the day after. You know? So, hey, that's when reality hits. I'm like, yeah, no. And you know when you lose the parent that raises you, it exposes a lot of characters around you. You see the world for what it is because parents have this tendency of hiding the truth from us, you know, for the sake of our protection. But then after you lose your parents or a parent that was your caregiver, you start seeing people's real colors because nobody's there to protect you. Nobody's there in between as a barrier from who they think is a threat to you, you know? So that happens and it just put me in a really dark place, man, you know? I try to thug it out, but I'd have like random moments where I'd break down because the one time there was somebody who came to my house looking for my dad. It's like, hey, get over mang. So for that split second, it made me feel like this guy's but then it hits you again, or if this guy's been gone, you know? And on top of that, 3 months later, my sister then passes away. So it was just downhill. It was just downhill. And this is a time where I also just lose the restaurant, the same time frame. Lose the restaurant and like everything is just really bad. The relationship that I was in wasn't great, you know. Everything was just bad. You know, you don't like you just start feeling like an imposter to the whole world now. It's not just certain spaces and stuff. You just feel like you don't belong anyway. You just want to just kind of crawl under a rock and, you know, it's like rediscovering yourself all over again. So it really did put me in a dark place, yeah.
Oh, I think that is something that I can't ever imagine.
Yeah, man. It's I don't wish that on my worst enemy, actually. Yeah.
And I suppose it takes a lot of strength, not necessarily to get over it, but to start coping with the pain.
No, facts. I always tell people who unfortunately have had the same experience after me that you don't heal from something like that. Never. You just learn to live with the pain. You know, you just learn to navigate through life with this pain. Yes, it gets a little bit lighter, but funny enough, like a couple of days ago, I was talking to my wife and I was like, we were talking about my dad, you know. And I was like, yo, I actually wish this guy was here because I would have done anything for that man. And with everything, the turn that my life has taken, he was not here to experience all of that. He's never seen, because I remember even when I was working at Discovery and I wanted to move to PE because they'd opened a new office there and I saw opportunity. I was like, yo, maybe I could become like a manager. because there I'll be the most experienced person. And the first thing my dad asked me, funny enough, when I told him, well, this is what I'm thinking, he's like, so what about your DJing? And as a parent, you don't expect the parent to
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
about your passion like
DJ.
that. Yeah, I was like, hey, actually, this guy's got a point.
Yeah.
I went and did my research. PE at the time wasn't booming. You know, now the nightlife is a lot better. But at the time, I was like, there's nothing for me to do there. I'm going to have to give up on my dream. So that's kind of like how I stayed. I didn't go to PE. But that's the relationship that I had with my I could talk about my romantic relationships with my dad, you know? So losing somebody like that, they're irreplaceable. I don't have another father. You know what I mean? I can't just go to Pick and Pay and buy another dad, you know? So that's how like scarred I became after that. But in a good and a bad way, because I had such a great relationship with my dad that's what I strive to be to my kids and to my wife, you know? So you don't heal from something like that. And maybe that could just be my personal opinion, but you don't heal from something like that. You just live to learn with the pain, man. Or rather learn to live with the pain. Yeah.
I think it takes a lot of strength.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of things coming down into
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
And you like kind of feel like you're a visitor in your own body.
Facts.
Life is just happening to you. And
Yeah.
shabby.
Yeah.
Helpless.
Yeah.
So to come out of that space, I think is really inspirational.
Yeah.
It takes like a lot of strength. I think also the loss probably rippled because you did say your dad was everyone's dad.
Yeah.
So that as the patriarch of the family.
Yeah.
Are there still days where you get very triggered about it? Or?
100%, man. 100%. Especially, I have flashbacks about my dad more often than I would care to admit. I would say maybe at least once a day. You know, at least. It's the smallest things that remind me of my dad. There's things that I do that remind me of my dad. You know what I mean? I'm like, because my dad was very much a jokester. He was very open. Even when they were still together with my mom, he would like tease and prank my mom, you know. And growing up in those times, it was very uncommon.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
My dad, when I was doing TV presenting, he didn't have a car. We never had a car, Kohai. So he would take a taxi to school, fetch me from school, take me to my audition, then we'd take a taxi back. Like everything was public transport. So, and like I'm saying, mannerisms that I have that remind me of my dad. So on a daily, man, you know, but instead of them triggering me to be like, to go into breakdowns and stuff, it's just like, yo, I've actually become my dad.
Yeah.
You know, like it's more that now. It's
Moment
not
of pride.
so yeah, it's not like yo, hey, I feel sad or I don't want to be alive anymore. No. You know, I think when I say you learn to live with the pain, I'm not saying you compartmentalize and you throw it at the back of your mind. What I'm saying is you learn to come out of the pain and start having more pleasant memories and like you start reverting back to lessons that you learned from your dad, good moments and all of those things, man. Because now I hear it even from the family a lot, but you're very much like your dad, like your sense of responsibility. You've become, like my aunts always tell me, you've become our brother, basically, you know? So yeah, I get triggered quite often, but not in a bad way, yeah.
I think that's good. I think that is also very important for many black people, black men, to hear that it's okay to grieve, it's okay to be triggered.
100%.
Now we celebrate your success. So fast forward 2018, you come out from that, you come back stronger during COVID, when people were falling, when you were rising, which isn't an easy thing to do, but you do it nonetheless, and you start collaborating with a brand, or you get your first brand deal. 12 hour.
Hey, dog, felt like $1 million.
Yo.
It felt like $1 million.
From there, where do we go?
I think I started realizing what I've got. Like, I've got a good thing going now. If brands, that's the first thing that I thought. If brands could identify me as somebody to work with, I'm in a good space and I need to take advantage of that. And I worked with the same brand for about a year and a half. And funny enough, I started getting more offers. It was an alcohol brand, Smirnoff to be quite specific. Shout out to Smirnoff, man. I'm very grateful for what they'd done for me because I wasn't just a number. You know, it was they they put me on to campaigns, but then when I started turning down other alcohol brands, I don't know if they knew or what, but when I started turning down other alcohol brands, then they put me on my first advert. So I did 4 adverts for Smith, which I was the lead actor,
Okay.
which was unheard of because like I'm very untrained in how to, what do you call sheet and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
those
yeah, yeah.
things, the call time. I was very untrained in all of that and how a professional ad is shot. I'm just used to my phone in my bedroom, in my room there. So that happened. I got onto my first ad, and I think that went so well. I then got the Netflix gig.
Okay.
I did ads for Netflix with lead character again. I did, I think, 7 for Netflix.
I know what this about, so I'm sure.
Hey, dude, I remember that day when the first Netflix ad dropped on social media. Like, my phone started buzzing again. They were like, I remember somebody sending me a WhatsApp saying, yo, dude, do you realize you're gone now? Pella, this is not a campaign. This is an advert where I was literally alone in the ads. It wasn't like there was a cast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was like monologue type thing. And it was big. I remember the director telling me, because they had booked 2 days. So they had booked the house and they booked crew and equipment and everything for 2 days. And I knocked it out in 1 day. So the director came to me, he's like, dude, this is natural talent. First of all, you've given me and the crew a day off, a paid day off. But for somebody who's never done stuff like this, for you to be committed and know your lines and execute and do like that, that says a lot about the place that you have in the industry waiting for you. So that was really cool. That was kind of like, oh, okay, maybe I do belong, After Netflix, Standard Bank, I did ads for Standard Bank. I did them with a guy called Snare. He's a comedian and a musician. We did them together, and we were the leads, and that was great. We did, I think, 8 ads for Standard Bank, and it was, I think, when Standard Bank happened, because there was, from the 12th hour that started there was like a huge check, So that's when I then realized that I do add some sort of value to the industry, because they could have chosen anybody else. If you think about it, if a brand comes to work with you, for the sake of this interview happening, you could have called anybody else and be like, you know what? In as much as, yes, you lined up certain guests, but to make it to that list of being a guest says a lot about the person that you are.
Yes.
So it's the same that's implemented into working with brands and stuff. I never take that for granted. I actually have a conversation with my wife very often and say, yo, dude, do you know the life that we live? Because my wife is a stay-at-home wife. She gets her allowance, and we spend a lot of time together because my schedule is so flexible. I get to spend a lot of time with the kids and my wife. We do a lot of stuff together. There's a lot of people who don't have that luxury of time,
100%.
yet alone the luxury of that kind of income, with working with brands like Supersport and all the other brands that I work with on the side. I did Savannah now, which was a 1-year contract. So those things kind of like remind you that if you just stay low and keep firing, I think it goes back to the lessons that my dad taught me. It's like, do things because you love them, not because you're trying to impress other people. So when I started shifting, my wife always jokes every often, oh, when I get a celebrity. And it feels weird being called that, because I don't see myself as that.
100%.
I don't see myself as a popular person or whatever. I'm just the guy who's just trying to put food on the table, But then there's certain experiences that remind you, I'm somewhat of a public figure, But the lessons that I learned from my dad is that those things never got to my head, and I hope they never do. Because coming from a place where you've got nothing to a place where now you just bought a house, you just bought a car, your kids are going to private school, your wife has the luxury of being a stay-at-home wife, you just being able to provide for that kind of life for your family is a huge blessing on its own. And being picked by those brands is the biggest blessing of all, because there's 2 kinds of content creators. And this is something I preach a lot. There's content creators that brands collab with them for reach. They've got high numbers, maybe even high engagement. They're popular. Yes. And then there's content creators where brands come for representation. they will give you like an endorsement deal. Like, okay, yes, there's somebody with higher numbers than you, but we feel like
We
you
want you.
represent our brand. You know, we would want you to be an ambassador, not just a campaign, yeah, 2 months, 3 months, and then chai. You know, so I've been fortunate to fall into the latter for representation, because that's when brands like Supersport then come and say, you're a content creator, yes. They've got well-seasoned broadcasters. There's people that went to school for what I did, not
100%.
just for TV, but for sports. You know, for me, it was just passion and talent and discipline. You know, it's a combination of that where it created such a great relationship with Supersport that I'm still there till today. You know, where I do things like live broadcasts, which I did for the first time on Supersport for the World Cup. You know, like that's international. You know,
Huge.
there's the AFCON now that I'm doing. There's a show that we've got every Thursday. I do cameos. Now they've got a new product that they just launched that I'm kind of like a big part of. You know, I basically pretty much represent Super Pigs, because even when I go to the stadium, like people call me, hey, Super Pigs, or they'll reference something I said on the show, you know?
Yeah.
So that says a lot about having the potential for representation. A lot of people do what they do because they just want to go viral. They just want to be popular and be known and be recognized in the street. But you have to understand that there is room, or the biggest part of that hustle is converting that viral video or the popularity into something that's lucrative and that is sustainable.
100%.
So that's what I focus on now. I get people DMing me all the time, like, when's the relationship Q&A coming and whatever.
Yeah.
And I still
But
have
you've
to juggle.
converted.
Yes. I still have to juggle what I do professionally now, for TV, what I do being a husband, being a father, still also having some downtime. Like I said to you off camera when I got here, is that like all I do in my spare time is I play FIFA.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
all I
yeah,
do, because I've kind of wanted to distance myself from the cool kid circles or the celebrity circles. Not that there's anything wrong with people in those spaces, but I know what I want to prioritize, which is something that I still have luxury of now. There's a pastor that says your early years are your earning years. A man can't give you time and provide at the same time. I think I'm the exception to the rule where I can do both, you know, and I want to take advantage of that time while I can
100%.
still put food on the table and still have time with my kids while they're growing, and my wife, and, you know, just be present. I think this opportunity for me was not an opportunity for me to be famous and be ukilabona.
It was an opportunity to provide.
It's an opportunity to provide. And from going to the guy who was like 100 megabytes just to do a Q&A to now, you know, being a family man that can provide for the family and the kids and still have time to spend with them, it's a huge jump. You know, it's a huge jump, and anybody in that space doesn't want to lose that. I always encourage people, especially like if you're in your 20s, early 20s, going to mid 20s, like enjoy that phase, right? But take the lessons that come with it. Don't get lost. Lost in the sauce. Don't get lost in the sauce.
Okay.
Don't get lost in the sauce, because what you're going through now is very important to experience. But don't let that cement your personality into valuing those things, you know, right? Don't be the person who wants to be in popular circles because you just want to be in popular circles. You know, the most valuable thing to you is clout. Don't be that person. It's important to go, because we went through all of that, dude. Like going to clubs, getting taxi, and then, you know what I mean? It's tens or being outshined by a dude with a car and money, and go through all of those things. Getting played in early, like you have to go through all those things because those things cultivate who you're going to be as an adult. So had I not gone through all those things, who knows? I could have been the guy who's like, oh, now I've got money now. You know, let me go see what the club is saying. I've got a young 18-year to go blow. Let me go see what the club is saying. Nah. Whereas I mean, if I was that guy, we wouldn't have had a house now. If I was that guy, the kids wouldn't be going to private school or creating this sort of safe space for my family that I'm still working towards and still working to maintain. You know,
100%.
so it's important to go through those things, but at the end of the day, it has to align with your dream. It can't just be all about Mpasha and where we're rocking and who's the hottest gent or the hottest girl in the circles.
100%.
Go through those things. Ufite kotsona. You know what I mean? Because I mean you're young and you want to explore and you want to have fun, and which is very important. But what you plant then, you're definitely going to reap. You know what I mean? Somebody once tweeted, like I remember when we were in our early 20s, and he said 10 years from now, it's going to show who was working too hard to look successful and who was working to actually be successful. And I'm happy to say, 10 years later, now I'm thinking, I'm glad I'm not the guy who's still trying to look successful.
Yeah.
Because a part of that is that there's nothing wrong with it again, but I'm not into like designer stuff. I'm actually not, I've got a terrible fashion sense. I'm a skipa buruku out kind of guy, unless I have to go to like a fancy event. But there's a culture in that we're kind of feeding people through social media, saying, if you don't look like this, if you're not partying at this spot, if you're not eating at this restaurant, and half of the time, that's the 1% that you see of that person's life. What's the 99% like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Am I sitting there in my last 100 rand trying to look like a millionaire? Or am I a millionaire and people are thinking, this one's probably got 100 rand in his account?
Yeah.
What's more valuable
100%.
is the question. So I'm saying there's so much value in putting your effort where it matters, which is in your craft, whatever your dream is, whether you want to be a doctor, you want to be a content creator, you want to be a musician, whatever. There's so much value in putting all of that energy of trying to look successful into
working
to be successful. Yeah.
100%. I think two things actually that like this whole conversation is sparking. The first is the process of creation and content creation and what that has meant for traditional recruitment mechanisms, right?
Yeah.
There's a huge outrage, whatever the word is, across the world surrounding content creators breaking into industries they didn't study for. People, because I was watching a new show on Netflix the other day. I saw Primo. He's making it, he's pushing. But I know there's someone that's very upset.
Facts.
Because they're like, Muto haya skolo.
Facts.
Gila skolo, I have 3 degrees, I have a PhD, I have this. How do you reconcile that? When you are in the space and Netflix says come, how do you say, Sharp, akaya skolo, but I deserve to be here?
Yeah.
And also, do you think there are some people who know about one ramo?
No, 100%.
I
mean, it happens in every industry. Even as a doctor, we had Dr. Matthew.
Hey?
It happens in every. I'm sorry. Was I supposed to mention? Was I not supposed to?
No.
So it happens in every industry. That's one thing we need to remember, right? But in the same breath, if you just got out of, let me put a scenario to you, right? You just got out of medical school, fresh graduate, and you start working as a doctor in a hospital with a doctor that's been there for 20 years, right? But your success rate in healing patients is higher than the doctor with 20 years. Are we now supposed to say, Uri, no, but when you just graduated, you're not a good enough doctor? That's not the chat. The chat is in the results. You know what I mean? Yes, there's definitely people who break into those spaces and you learn about more. Somebody was fondled for this character to be approved. You know what I mean? So there definitely is a lot of that, and I felt it getting into broadcast. Because when you break into that scene, even the people in those spaces, they feel very uncomfortable, and it's not always jealousy. I think that's what people need to understand. They're not jealous of you. They also want to put out dope work. And you're compromising their productivity if you're going to half-ass your contribution. So for me, it's always about having a teachable spirit, learning, improving, and earning your spot. I'm not going to feel bad if you studied 20 years and I'm on TV doing sports and you feel like, I just got there because I've got, X amount of followers or whatever. The people that we're catering to, are they happy? And that's my feedback. Okay, the company is happy, the audience is happy. and I'm continuing to learn and trying to improve, right?
100%.
So if that's the case, then why should I feel bad for being given an opportunity? Because basically what you're telling me is that I don't deserve my opportunity.
Yes.
And I
yes.
can't let you dictate what I deserve and what I don't,
Mm.
you know? Because you're sitting there, you don't know that I've just went through 10, 20, 30 years of trauma, 30 years of trying to break it into some sort of industry or entertainment. You don't know that.
The school of life.
Exactly. You're just judging me based off how you feel and how you feel like it wasn't just that I'm on TV. But am I putting out a good product? Am I learning from the industry? Right now at work, I get called by different departments in different sports departments saying, hey, we like what this guy's doing. Can we have him come do something for rugby?
Yeah,
Can we have
yeah.
him come do something for cricket? You know, we've got a big football tournament coming up. We definitely want that guy. That says a lot. So the conversation is very valid because there's people that don't respect the spaces that they go into.
100%.
So you're a content creator, you've got all these numbers, you're given a shot, you're not on time, you're half-assing your script, you're not respecting the people on set or the sound guys and the cameramen and, you know, the people who are doing catering. You utilera o star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in that's what causes all this disgruntlement in the industry is that when you do get that opportunity, it's also a space for you to learn, you know, because you want to be there for a long time. You know, we've seen in sports where things have happened and the audience themselves were unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, that should be feedback enough. So in the same breath, if the audience is happy and they're tuning in to my show because they're like, hey, I love seeing this guy. When they see me in the street, they want photos and they're referencing things that I say on the show. That is feedback enough. So I think it's a case by case scenario because it could happen in any industry. And I always say, this is my favorite saying. I don't remember who said it, but you know, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
100%.
So for me, I feel like I've always found a healthy balance of both. That along with the talent, I have to put in twice as much hard work. Not because of imposter syndrome, but because I'm here for a long time, not a good time, dog. You know what I mean? I want to be here for years to come. So I hear the chat. It's very valid, but it's a case by case scenario.
100%.
Yeah.
I didn't start the interview with this. I don't want to lead with it, but I just wanted the interview to kind of organically grow. But I could speak for hours and hours to you because you are my own. I look up to you in a big way.
Appreciate it, man.
Next year, I'll send you money.
I'm sure no Romela need question.
Homework. God damn it, Lemi. Got the advice.
Yeah.
But I am so grateful that you made time. I know your schedule is insane.
Appreciate it, man. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like, we genuinely appreciate it. And we appreciate you making the time
Yeah.
for us, but more importantly, for the people that this is for. Going through a loss of a parent, of a figure, of someone that's raising them, that doesn't see the light at the end, that is forced to drop out of school this year. That's what this show is about. It's for those people to see hope and draw inspiration from your story. And I think for me, the things that stick out is lean on the support systems that exist.
Facts.
When people know more, trust that they know more, and learn from their experiences, build your own, but they can couple and supplement each other. But most importantly, remember where your values lie.
Yeah.
If family is your thing, make sure that you put them first.
That's very important, man. That's very important because, like I said, we live in a culture where social media is more important than human interactions.
100%.
You know, and we learn more from human. I can put whatever I want. That's why actually you can dig deep into my social media. You'll never find my family. You know, I don't post my family. I don't post my kids. I don't post my wife. Other than a random story, here and there. But kids 100% know.
Yes.
But for my wife, obviously, like, we'll post some stuff. But I keep it off of social media because I'm very cognizant of what I put out. I want to put out the work. And if ever I have a platform like this to come and speak to people, I want to just remind you that I'm also human, but we're all going through the same thing. And like, don't believe or buy into everything you see on social media. You know, there's a lot of things that are put out that are not real. 100%. You know, there's a lot of things that are put out that are inflated, you know, because that makes you feel like your struggle. is like, yo, the end of the world. Or you're struck, why am I going to you? There's people sitting there who's probably 22 thinking, yo, my life is ending because you know, this and that is not happening. I don't have this kind of bag. I can't afford to go to Dubai. 22. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot more to, yes, it would be great to have those opportunities at that age, but it's not the end all and be all if you don't. Like I got my break when I was 30, dog. You know? So all the other years, nearly and struggle and trying to piece things together and whatever. But the most important part was I was present in those phases of my life. When things were bad, I was present. I took the L's. When things were good, I was present. I took the W's. You know, but I didn't feel like, okay, the world is ending now. You know, it happens. There's my peers who at that time were doing far off better than me. But if you look now, they probably sitting there thinking, yo, this guy made it. You know, but they don't know there was a time where I was looking at them and saying, yo, this dude made it. He's a doctor now, he's an accountant or whatever. So our journeys are different. And what you consume from social media, unfortunately, plays a big role in kind of like poisoning your self-esteem. You know, because you look at people your age. When I was shouting at people on social media, get homework, guys. There were content creators who are very young in high school who were talking about how they failed. You know, so it's a real thing. That's why it sounds like a joke when I say when I'm busy saying homework, but I'm not going to entertain people who are supposed to be focusing on a certain part of their lives, which is education, and I'm giving you relationship advice. You know, what am I saying? You know what I mean? I'm kind of being part of the problem now. So that's how the whole homework thing comes. It was a serious thing. I wasn't saying you don't go through what you go through in high school, but I don't want to be the distraction of you focusing on mjolo over homework. You know what I mean? Because, guys, Runa, after that content, I'm still going back to my job and my career. I'm still getting my salary. I'm still putting food on the table. So what am I saying if I'm encouraging you guys to come into my Q&As at the age of 16? You know what I mean? Yes, there are certain things that we can discuss and challenges or whatever, but I'm not going to encourage you to camp on my social media 100%. And wait for a Q&A because, Lemi, I've just been dribbled in grade 9. What?
Homework.
Homework. No, man. You know, so yeah, man. So I mean, guys, like, trust the process.
100%.
Trust the process.
Process is in the present. That's all that matters, chefs. I hope Lepi, like, if you ingredients to blind, Lemi shared crazy insights. And once again, Recipe for Success is so glad to have you. Thank you for making the time. And I hope the next few years is even bigger for you. Like, on screen, moving on, man. Moving on. I want a Q&A.
No, okay, I want a movie, guys. I do want to be in a movie. Don't get me wrong. But you know what my dream is? I want to be a host for Trash Talk TV, man. Like Trash TV. Boy, Jola 99 drama nyana. So I want to, hey, man, something, man. I love watching Trash TV. So if somebody's out there planning Trash TV nyana, you need a host, hit me up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. And this was Recipe for Success. Thank you.